Also, before we wanted to get started, I just wanted to let you guys know, if you don't follow me over on Instagram, then you wouldn't have seen, but I made my New York Fashion Week debut. This is me. I walked for the Mirapelle Collection V runway show, a return to glamour, and it was so iconic. This picture is by the lovely Black Prince on Instagram. One of the most talented photographers, literally awe-inspiring work. So frame this, put it above my bed, literally tattooed on my eyelid. Okay, anyways, yeah, so that was amazing. And make sure you guys are following me over on Instagram and TikTok so you can keep up with all of my stuff, guys. And welcome back to the channel. You could tell by the title, today we're talking about The Secret History again. Listen, if people give me the opportunities to talk about books that I'm obsessed with, I'm just gonna keep doing it. And I feel like maybe it's just because this book came out a long time ago, or maybe I just don't run in the right literary circles, but I feel like there's not that much about this book. And that also could be chalked up to the fact that Donna Tartt rarely does interviews. But I just feel like not enough people are talking about it. She says of like literally an American literary classic. Any excuse to talk about it, I'm gonna take. So today we're gonna be fan casting The Secret History, and I'm not gonna say movie because we're gonna get into that in a minute, but I don't want a movie, okay? We're gonna take a journey, and I'm gonna show you exactly piece by piece, from production to streaming to direction to casting, what my little ADHD rat brain thinks is the best move for The Secret History. You must be thinking, Mo, what accolades do you have to cast one of the most beloved books of all time? And okay, taste, free will, a camera, and a mood disorder. So today we're gonna be fan casting. I'm super excited. I see these on TikTok all the time. 90% of the time I don't agree with them. I think I may have a couple little hot takes, maybe a couple sneaks depending on who you ask, but I dream of this exact scenario happening. But also before that, what is this? Why are y'all not subscribed? Why are y'all not subscribing? Hello? Okay, like I thought we were friends. I thought we were talking about our special interests. I thought we were like, but you know what? It's fine. I'll pay my own bills. Don't worry, girl. No, but seriously, hit that red subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up. Just so that way maybe other people make videos about Secret History and I can watch them. If not anything but that, okay? Okay, let's get into a little Secret History lore before we get into casting our own movie. Is it actually almost became a movie. It was this director, Alan Pakula, I think I'm saying that right, who immediately snapped up the rights to the movie after the book was so critically acclaimed, and he worked for Warner Brothers. Well, the idea, which the fact that we were robbed of this, I can't. So Joan Didion and John Gregory Dunn were going to co-write the screenplay, and then Scott Hicks was going to direct it. Can you imagine a movie where Joan Didion wrote the screenplay and it's her interpretation of The Secret History? Like, that is just my dream. Like, I was robbed. Unfortunately, Alan passes away in a car crash and the project just never really gets off the ground, and the rights kind of transfer into the ether until 2002, I believe. Yes, when none other than Gwyneth Paltrow and her brother, who I did not know was an actor up until now, announced that they made a deal with Miramax to develop The Secret History. Which makes sense, right? Because people love casting 90s Gwyneth Paltrow as Camilla, and trust me, I see it. Listen, I'm not hating. They also wanted Ethan Hawke and 90s Leonardo DiCaprio to be in it. So this could have potentially been like a Dead Poets Society, very star-studded, packed, classic academia movie, but again, it never grew legs because unfortunately their father would go on to pass away that year, and they just kind of, you know, moved on to other things. Kind of good that they did, because the producer that was so excited and spoke so highly of the project that he was helping develop was none other than So now that is 2 times that it fell through. After the less than critically acclaimed adaptation of Goldfinch, I doubt she's gonna let anybody touch any of her work ever. So what I'm about to say will probably never exist outside of this YouTube video, but if it ever does, I don't even want credit. I don't even want anything, just a signed copy of the Viking edition 1992. What is it? The one with the cherubs on it. I'll put a picture. Call me. Okay, before we get into casting, we need to set the stage, okay? We need to know what we're working with. Walk with me here, because we're gonna go on a little bit of a journey. Let me start right off the bat with, I don't want a movie. I want a limited series for HBO Max streaming. I personally think that HBO, maybe even Apple, but then I'd have to get Apple TV, are the only people that could tackle it correctly. That's just my opinion, and that's just based on track record alone. I think international Netflix does great with their limited series, but I do not trust American Netflix as far as I can throw them, even though I love them. So I would really love to see it be like an 8 or 7 act, like a Greek tragedy series done for HBO. Now, who's directing it? Who's writing it? I personally do not feel qualified or comfortable saying that there is a Joan Didion of our generation at this current moment. So the screenwriting, I personally think Donna Tartt could still be called in to write the screenplay. She's still a talented writer. She's still very active in her literary career. It's been almost 10 years, so I'm hoping we get a book soon. I really think that her being that close to it would make her the most comfortable. So I would love to have her write the screenplay. In my dream world, in my delusional brain, this limited series is co-directed by Sofia Coppola and Celine Sciamma. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. She is the director of Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Now listen, if you get the vision, you get the vision. I think the feminine and queer undertones in The Secret History are so intricate and integral to the story that those two together, like, just imagine. And even if we couldn't get it co-directed, I would take either or, but imagine Sofia Coppola. Y'all wouldn't be ready. I wouldn't be ready. Like, talk about comfort show. I would never watch anything for the rest of my life. Okay, let's get into the cast. Now I'm gonna start shaking the table. I personally feel like I have compiled the most elite, comprehensive, accurate, and amazing cast list. This is a mother convention. Let me in the casting department. I have no experience, no expertise, no industry connections, but I bet you if I put this list down, everybody in the room gonna go mute. Let's start with Richard. So Richard is interesting, right? Because we never really get a full description in depth of what he looks like in the way that he describes like the other students, like Francis, for example. But one thing I would bet money on is that this man was attractive. He came to that school and had everybody wrapped around his finger. He had Judy Poovey, a bad bitch, kind of thirsting for him low-key. And also literally all the students were like enamored by him, and Julian thought he was gorgeous. So this man must be gorgeous, right? But he's also awkward, he's also a little bit off-putting, and he's also very mysterious. So for our Richard, we have none other than Freddie Highmore. Okay, Bates Motel. Hello. It's literally Richard Papin. He comes to a school, kind of mysterious. Does he have money? Is he poor? What are they doing in the house on the hill? He's kind of cute. I want to hang out with him. And then now you're sleeping with the fishes. Yes, he's in The Good Doctor. I have not watched The Good Doctor. But I do think that Freddie has like that awkward yet charming kind of like, I just ended up here because I just kind of bumbled along. I was like, okay. And like it worked out in my favor, which, I mean, Richard literally infiltrated this group, was a part of it when it literally fell to the ground as they committed some of the most heinous and disturbing acts known to mankind, illegal in multiple states, not just schmurder. And he just gets out relatively unscathed and just gets to have like a crazy story about his friends, which is funny because I listened to the Once Upon a Time at Bennington podcast, and that's very similar to Donna Tartt's experience. She has come out of Bennington and that whole era relatively unscathed and kind of beloved and heralded, while others like Bret Easton Ellis and some of the other characters that inspired her novel have not really aged so well. Although I will say, apparently Judy Poovey is based on Michelle Matlin, who did the costume directing for Succession. So what an icon. I also think that because Richard is our first introduction to our group, he has to be handsome, he has to be charming, and he has to be disarming. So I think Freddie Highmore has that like lovable sensibility that really kind of like, you know what I mean, puts you at ease. Outside of Richard's parents, who he just talks about, so would be potentially shown later on in the series in flashbacks, is George Lefort, his French teacher slash counselor. So I just thought I'd like fan cast him too, because I have like the perfect person in my head. Giancarlo Esposito. I'm sorry. Like, he's perfect. He is perfect. I love him. Anytime I see him pop up in anything, I smile. I love him. Anyways, before he meets any of the Greek students, he meets Julian, and he talks about him. In the book, Julian is described as having a small but wise face, as alert and poised as the question. And though certain features of it were suggestive of youth, the elven upsweep of the eyebrows, the deft lines of the nose and jaw and mouth, it was by no means a young face, and the hair was snow white. So I might get a little slack for this one, but hear me out. It's already salt and pepper, so like maybe we could just do a salt and pepper, not a full white. For my Julian Morrow, I chose Mark Ruffalo. I'm sorry, okay. Mark Ruffalo is one of those actors where I think people associate him with the MCU because he's been doing that for a while, which paid him bills, no shade. I think he could give the caliber of a performance of a Robin Williams in Dead Poets Society. I really do think the perfect Julian, just his voice, his charisma, he's disarming, he's kind of sweet, but he's very handsome, he can be very stern. I feel like he would surprise a lot of people as well. I feel like this could kind of be like a breakout performance that would maybe get him like a Golden Globe or like an Emmy nomination. Patty Constantine in House of the Dragon, I was just like, I love a transformative role, especially for an older man or woman. I need Mark Ruffalo as Julian Morrow. I'm sorry, argue with the wall, argue with the wall. By the way, if you ever wondered what my copy looks like, this is just one example of the page. First person Richard introduces us to is Henry, and of course of Henry he says the larger of the two, and he was quite large, well over 6 feet, was dark-haired with a square jaw and coarse pale skin. He might have been handsome had his features been less set or his eyes behind the glasses less expressionless and blank. He wore dark English suits and carried an umbrella, and he walked stiffly through throngs of hippies and beatniks and preppies and punks with the self-conscious formality of an old ballerina, surprising in one so large as he. Henry Winter, said my friends when I pointed him out. I'm sorry, but Donna Tartt, the self-conscious formality of an old ballerina, like, I know ballerinas across the country who were like, why'd you say me for? Like, why'd I catch a stray? Like, oh, her brain, like, she's so wicked in the best ways. My cast for Henry is a popular one. I would have loved Zane Holtz to be him, but I think maybe he's a little bit older now and he's a little bit more salt and pepper. So I had to go with the most popular choice, and that is none other than the talented, the iconic, the most Gorgina, Bill Skarsgård. To me, he is the epitome of everything that Henry is. Big, imposing, scary, off-putting, but alluring and charming and handsome in a way that you don't like, that you like it. Also, the entire Skarsgård family is insanely talented. Like, Stellan Skarsgård was on my short list for Julian. I just kind of thought it would be weird to have both of them and one of them had to go. But I also thought maybe he could be Dr. Roland. Anyways, I digress. I really think that Bill Skarsgård could bring the complicated humanity and anti-hero villain weird line that Henry so frequently walks, where you kind of sympathize with this like broken part of him, but he's just so big and imposing, and he's so calculating and smart, and you can't trust him, but you want to trust him badly, and like you just want to be his friend. And I think Bill Skarsgård has that energy. And like I said, the entire family is so talented. He's kind of been regulated to like the horror genre for the most part. I would love to see him do something like this, like a drama, you know, where he just gets to act, just gets to give his all. Okay, anyways, this next one is where I think I might gag you a little bit. Like, you probably never saw it coming, but once you see the Vision mod, you're gonna be writing the petition. You're gonna be tagging HBO in the comments. So, the smaller of the two, but not by much, was a sloppy blonde boy, rosy-cheeked, gum-chewing, with a relentlessly cheery demeanor. His fists thrust deep in the pockets of his knee-sprung trousers. He wore the same jacket every day, a shapeless brown tweed, frayed at the elbow, short in the sleeves. His sandy hair was parted to the left. A long forelock fell over one bespectacled eye. Bunny Corcoran was his name. Bunny being somehow short for Edmund. Okay. Bunny is obviously an integral casting, right? You cannot mess him up. He has to be the type of person where he's kind of this like political anti-hero, Greek chorus that takes it too far, annoying little brother who you hope grows out of it. Also like kind of the punching bag, and a lot of projection is placed when people don't want to like look at their own selves. So that takes a really complicated and talented actor to bring to life, right? Because even if you think about villains, you want to hate them, you want to see them lose, or you want to see them win or whatever. You can't just hate a character, you can't just hate a story, because then it's not enjoyable and it's not watchable. Well, I watched a little movie called Banshees of Inisherin, and after I saw that, I knew our bunny is none other than Barry Keoghan. I'm sorry. Can you see it? Dye his hair a sandy blonde. I'm telling you right now, polish the Emmys, get the etcher fired up. Everybody else just get drunk because you're not gonna have to give a speech. He's taking it. Like, are you kidding? Like, what? Nobody else could be Bunny to me. I do agree with the older fan cast in the 90s. I forget the actor's name. Philip Hoffman, I believe his name is. Rest in peace. I know where I know him from. Okay. Everybody really liked him for Bunny in the original fan cast. I agree. But Barry is, oh my God, just this lovable, doughy, dopey, insidious. You guys have to watch him in Killing of a Sacred Deer. Watch that performance and then watch him in Banshees of Inisherin. That range and that ability to capture two different spectrums of human emotions in the face of grief and loss and pain and suffering. Yeah, he would eat Bunny down. I'm sorry, but the scenes of him in Banshees of Inisherin when he's in the pub gave me Bunny at lunch with Richard when they first meet. I'm sorry, like I am so sorry. It has to be him, and the Emmy goes to. Do you see, like, we're cooking with gas. Like, we're already cooking with gas. So let's turn it up, okay? Because this is where I'm kind of probably gonna piss you guys off a little bit. The third boy, the most exotic of the set, angular and elegant, precariously thin, with nervous hands and a shrewd albino face. A short, fiery mop of the reddest hair I had ever seen. I thought he dressed like Alfred Douglas or the Count de Montesquieu. Beautiful French shirts, magnificent neckties, and a black greatcoat that billowed behind him as he walked, making him look like a cross between a student prince and Jack the Ripper. Francis Abernathy was his name. The love of our lives, the apple of our eyes, baby girl to a lot of people, and I'll name them. Francis Abernathy is none other than Timothée Chalamet. I'm sorry. Who else could it have been? For half a second, I thought of having Paul Mescal play Richard Paypen and then having Freddie Highmore be Francis, but then the ages and the body types just don't match up. And I'm sorry, Timmy just eats like he does. And listen, this is coming from somebody who was late to the train, right? I saw Call Me By Your Name and I was like, click, dial tone, the number you have called is no longer in service, don't care. And this was pre-Armie Hammer getting exposed. I just wasn't my cup of tea. Lady Bird, he was okay. He played the most punchable person in the world, which is what he was supposed to do. Every teenage girl knows the guy that Paul was. But when I saw him in Dune, in the words of Drake, nothing was the same. I wasn't watching Timothée Chalamet, I was watching Paul Atreides. And then I watched him in The King with Robert Pattinson. I was like, yep, period. I don't need to see anything more. Like, that's my man. Anyways, I've seen a lot of people talk about Domhnall Gleeson as Francis. Listen, if they changed it and Timmy didn't want to do it and Domhnall got it, I would still love it. It would still eat. I just do think he's a little bit more sophisticated and older seeming compared to the other people that have casted. And also, I guess Francis is very sophisticated, but he has a very prince-like, boyish, neat, feminine charm to him. And I think that Timmy serves that really well. And his skin is like super pale alabaster, so it just like, you know what I mean? Dye that hair ginger and we end it like somewhere. Now let's get to our siblings by fate, lovers by choice, Charles and Camilla. And then they were a pair, boy and girl. At first I thought they were boyfriend and girlfriend. Until later I learned they were twins. They looked very much alike, with heavy dark blonde hair and epicene faces as clear and cheerful and grave as a couple of Flemish angels. They liked to wear pale clothes, particularly white, and in this swarm of cigarettes and dark sophistication, they appeared here and there like figures from an allegory, or long-dead celebrants from some forgotten garden party. It was easy to find out who they were, as they shared the distinction of being the only twins on campus. Their names were Charles and Camilla Macaulay. Let's start with Charles, because I feel like y'all gonna jump me, okay? I think that I might be the only one that sees this vision, but I see a transformative breakout role. Let him cook. Let him cook. You might just like what he comes up with. So, our Charles Macaulay, drumroll please. We have Rudy Pankow. Listen, tell me you don't see it. Just this picture alone is so Charles coded. Rudy is very handsome. He's very talented. I thought he was kind of one of the strongest actors in what little I saw of Outer Banks, but I just think that he encompasses this American Southern handsome gentleman gone way off the rails role that Charles so perfectly encompasses. He's traditionally handsome enough that you could really chuck any girl next to him and they could look like twins, especially if you dressed them alike, gave them the same kind of like sandy blonde dark heavy hair. And I really think that him in a button-up smoking, he just gives old money Western. I don't know, like this doesn't look like the face of a guy that's seen an iPhone, you know what I mean? Like James Dean would probably like dap him up, you know? I don't know. I just get big Charles energy. Charles goes through a transformation. Like he's kind of the background character, the most unassuming of all of the boys right off the bat. You know what I mean? He's the most stable. He's not a Henry or Bunny or a Francis. To see him unravel so much and spiral so hard, and then to know this whole time that he was kind of the most disturbed of all of them because of like the whole Camilla situation, super interesting. It gives that something is lurking beneath the surface and I'm ready to blow energy. I'm just saying. For Camilla, I racked my brain and I was trying to like go back and forth. I really thought maybe Margaret Qualley, but then I was like, no, you don't want to have her blonde. She's not going to look right. Then I thought maybe Daisy Edgar Jones, but then I was like, no. And then I was like, no, the blonde just will not look right. You know what? Why am I swimming upstream? Why am I trying to reinvent the wheel? Let me give it to the girl it belongs to. The original wafy white woman. Okay, Mothering 101, Miss Elle Fanning. Hey guys, editing me here. Upon further inspection, I do think that McKenna Grace, she could be a shoo-in. I just see it, you know? Anyways, thought I would add that. I'm sorry, is this not Camilla Macaulay? I know she's doing the great. I know she's serving. I love it. I love the Nicholas Hoult renaissance. I love that he's like getting more roles. I think he would even be great in this. I thought about him as Henry for just a smidgen of a second, which would be so funny if they did The Secret History after doing the great and they played lovers again. You see, like, what? Call me, HBO. Like, what are you doing? I feel like Elle is perfect for this role. Camilla is one of the boys' girls. Richard barely sees her outside of her thin ankles and knees and her pale wrist and her blonde hair and her coats and her sadness and her fake kisses. So I really think that Elle is somebody who on the surface looks very pretty, is something nice to look at, but is so interesting and intriguing and can say so much without saying anything. I really think the Fanning sisters are so talented, and what they've been able to accomplish is just iconic. Like they're definitely going to be people we talk about in, you know, when we're older and we talk about people from our generation. Definitely think Elle would body this. I think it's right in her wheelhouse, fit perfect in her filmography. So I really would love to see her do this role. I also think if Donna Tartt wrote the screenplay, we would be able to expand upon Camilla more and see more of her in the limited series versus a movie that's kind of like bar for bar with the book. To me, Camilla kind of seems like this amalgamation of how Donna Tartt views women in these arenas, how she's treated in these arenas, the women that were kind of her competition or her inspiration when she came to Bennington. Listened to Once Upon a Time at Bennington. I thought that Lily Olenek, I think that's her name. She did a great job, and I think that it was super interesting. I don't, you know, I think I personally agree with like reading someone's private letters, but listen, that's showbiz, baby. It was so interesting listening to the real story about Donna's experience with the kind of classics class that existed in the real Bennington, and then kind of her version of it, and then her kind of not really but kind of being the only girl in this class, and her just minuscule interactions with this boys only kind of very pretentious writing class because of someone she was dating, and how her proximity to these people, because she wanted to spend time with somebody she enjoyed, this is kind of what she experienced. I think that's really encompasses Camilla's journey in its whole, and I think Elle would body that. I just know she would eat, like, I just know. So now that we cast our main crew, let's just cast a couple of our side characters that are still really important to the narrative. The iconic Judy Poovey, described as having wild clothes, frosted hair, a red Corvette with California plates bearing the legend Judy P. Her voice was loud and rose frequently to a screech, which rang through the house like the cries of some terrifying tropical bird. She was wearing cutoff jeans that had bizarre, frantic designs drawn on them in magic marker, and a spandex top, which revealed her intensely aerobicized midriff. Iconic, right? For Judy, drumroll please, I have two options. I was tied. I couldn't pick. So I could see either of them doing this and slaying it. But for Judy, I could either see Morgan Lilly, who is a friend of mine. She's extremely talented. She's been in Shameless. She's been in tons of things. Check her out, honey. Her filmography is very long. I could see the iconic Billie Lourd really bodying this role. Judy kind of embodies this like California spirit, very pretty girl, carefree, creative. But I also think she kind of embodies us readers in a way that like Richard kind of goes and finds solace in her when he wants an escape from the classics class, and he starts out like kind of terrified of her because she told several girls she was going to sleep with me, only in less delicate terms. So he's kind of petrified of her, but he ends up being friends with her, and she ends up being one of the nicest people to him, and she ends up being a really nice friend and helping him out a couple times. So either or, and I'm happy. Up next we have Cloak Rayburn, which you guys know he is the local plug. He is the one that comes to see them when Bunny is missing, to let them know that he took Bunny to New York to see some of them boys, and now he might be sleeping with the fishes. He's kind of described as this like handsome but kind of smarmy, smart dressed, schmoozhy kind of guy, which is hilarious because I used to think that Bunny was based off of Bret Easton Ellis, but after listening to Once Upon a Time at Bennington, I found out that Cloak is based off of Bret Easton Ellis, which is so funny because that's so makes so much more sense, honestly. And to play Cloak slash Bret, I thought who else better, none other than the iconic Will Poulter, right? Like, put some Wayfarers on him, put him in a button up. That's Bret Easton Ellis in the 80s. I'm sorry, argue at the wall. I feel like Will Poulter does that like Americana good boy gone bad, could have a really bad temper but's really cool, like schmoozy guy really well, and I just love anytime he's in anything, and I think he's a really great underrated actor. I think he definitely is starting to like get the shine he deserves, and like obviously he's been in amazing things, but I think he would body Cloak, and I just think it would be great to see him act alongside the rest of these people. The last two characters we have are Marion, who is Bunny's girlfriend. I have her casted as the lovely Catherine Newton. I feel like a long explanation for the secret history. I put a picture of Amanda Bynes and Easy A as my picture to represent Marion, and I just feel like Catherine Newton in Lady Bird is Marion. Like, you cannot convince me otherwise. Like, that is Marion. And I also love her, and I think she's super underrated. And I think she could pull off like a dramatic, grieving, sobbing, weeping over his casket scene that would just be very good contrast to Henry's kind of rude poem that he reads at Bunny's funeral. Who would you cast as Dr. Rowland? Because I was like, there's not really anybody old and senile enough that I know of off the top of my head. I was also thinking maybe Morgan Freeman, but is that rude? Is Morgan Freeman too young? Okay, so that's it. You want it, don't you? You want to turn on your TV and you want it to already exist. I know. This is my Roman Empire. I think about it 24/7. A limited series on HBO Max, directed by Sofia Coppola, starring an ensemble star-studded cast, and they just give us what we're lacking. I feel like we're severely lacking when it comes to dark academia TV shows and movies. I've been on a kick, obviously, since it's fall here in Detroit, but I watched Kill Your Darlings, Dead Poets Society, and I was like, okay, but where is the media about Bennington? Everybody from Bennington kind of got screwed over. Bret Easton Ellis put all of his books to TV screen super fast, and obviously created the iconic American Psycho movie featuring Christian Bale, which we should have a video essay where we talk about how beloved movies really make the book counterparts seem better than they are. But I don't think people are ready for that. Yeah, that's it. Comment down below, let me know who you cast, because I could talk about this all day. It's definitely special interest territory, so there's that. I love you guys, and thank you so much for, I think I'm at like 11K when this video comes out. I love you guys so much. Don't forget to follow me over on TikTok, Instagram, and I will see you all soon.